In today's video, I'm going to make a Holo Projector inspired by this Missile Commander game that they used in Andor to make the one that was used in that series. I used SolidWorks and a bunch of reference pictures from that game to make my model. When I got done making it, I printed it up in both FDM and resin. Here I am testing out the FDM just to make sure if anyone wanted to print this in FDM that it would print. I'm going to finish the resin one on mine because why put the effort into all the finishing if I don't have to? You'll see that there are two studs down where the bottom buttons are and a little tab that you can get springs. I use these springs from Harbor Freight. They're sized to fit in the parts perfectly. Once in place, the buttons move to give it a little realistic feeling to the buttons. Here you can see the FDM, it has a lot of steps in it, and I'm not going to spend the time cleaning that up. So I move on to my resin print. On my resin print, I made a minor change, and you can see where I trimmed out the spring for the button and I replaced it with a momentary switch. I'm going to wire the momentary switch up to 3 LEDs. One for the little beacon at the top, and 2 which will light up the clear section in the middle. I also got these little sleeves. They're little heat shrink sleeves with low temp solder in them. So when you heat them up, not only do they shrink and protect the wire, they also solder the two wires together all in one step. I found this very convenient. If you've ever got a chance to play with these, they're actually well worth it, I think. The battery compartment is a 2 battery. It holds 2 CR2032s. If you're not familiar with the battery sizes, the 32 is actually the thickness, 3.2 millimeters. So these 3 LEDs, I want to have more than just 6 volts. So to up it to 12 volts, I replaced the 2032 batteries with 2016's 1.6. I can then fit 2 batteries in each compartment, each side of the compartment, and actually have 4 batteries. The batteries are 3 volts each, so that gives me 12 volts. With this wired up in series, the 3 LEDs all have resistors, and they're made to work with a 12 volt system. This allows me to do this without having to figure out anything, add any resistors or anything. I modeled it up so that you could actually run 2 separate lights. You could use one of the other buttons or even the switch at the bottom, and with a little bit of work, wire up the lights so that the bottom lights work different off of a different button than the top light. This is going to be sitting on my shelf, so other than maybe showing someone when they come by for a visit, I'm not going to be using this in a cosplay or anything, so I'm just making the one button light up all 3 LEDs. There are 2 slots on one piece of the body that made up with tabs on the other so that it lines up. You don't have to try to line it up by eye. And then the top plate actually just fits inside of a pocket, and then there's 2 holes for the main knob to slide into. The white section of the knob is just printed in white resin. You can do whatever you want to fit something in there. I chose to just print it in white resin really thin. The light shines through decently for what I want. Again, as I was saying about the batteries, your 2032 batteries, if you need to double the voltage, you can get 2016, because they're half the thickness, you can technically get 2 batteries into the same space that a 2032 should fit. Know the voltage of your LEDs before doing this. 12 volts is normal for most of these pre-resistored LEDs you can get off sites like Amazon, so this is not a big deal. I'm holding most of mine together just using hot glue, so if I ever need to take it apart, I can with just a little bit of pressure and prying it apart. I'm holding the LEDs in place with hot glue. I really like this Ryobi hot glue gun. It heats up in only 30 seconds, so I don't have to wait a long time. I just don't like the way the buttons are on it. It's supposed to be ergonomic for right or left-handed, but it just seems like you need to press both sides to get it to work well. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. If you know a better way, please let me know in the comments. Here I'm adding the 2 springs to the studs that are molded into the bottom piece, putting the buttons in. The buttons are angled like the plate. I actually like them turned 180 degrees around, which kind of gives them a little more contour in the look. It's a little hard to line them up, but because I made the stud short enough, you can press down on the springs and rotate them. Once I get it all glued together, it's time to do a little bit of weathering. If you saw my short, here I am taking this Tamiya weathering powder. I've used this once before with the little applicator that came with it, and it broke. I put a little too much pressure. I found that you don't have to put a lot of pressure, you just need to keep going back over the area with light strokes, and it will actually eventually apply. I think Brian over at the Smuggler's Room said this in a recent video of his. You just have to trust the process. You can see here where I'm going over these sharp edges and the black is starting to show up. If you do use this, I recommend getting these little applicators. They work well, and I think I got like 100 of them for like $5 on Amazon. You just need to be slow, watch it as it applies, and eventually you'll see that it'll start to take shape. This is really great if you want to do a light application of weathering rather than the heavy weathering that I am pretty prominent at doing myself. I didn't want to weather this too much. Again, my model here, I painted it using some paints that I already have. It's inspired by Andor and the game from Bandai, but it's not exact. I think the weathering came out pretty good for just only using these Tamiya Master weathering powders. Trying a Q-tip here, I found that it does a decent job of taking the weathering powder back off, but not putting it on as much. So I would definitely recommend the applicators if you need more than the one that comes with it. The one that comes with it actually does also have a brush. So here it is, completely weathered. Let me know what you think in the comments. And here, now that it's completely assembled, I found an issue with mine. My momentary switch is so light that just the weight of the button when I hold it on its side can actually set it off. It doesn't take any pressure. I will have to look for a stronger momentary switch, or possibly add a spring around the outside to keep it from going off separately in the future. Anyway, if you got anything out of this video, appreciate a like. If you're not already, please subscribe. And thanks for watching.